Millions are at stake in the world of football, and wherever there's money, there's fraud. Someone pretended to be a former Manchester United player to steal from a club in Slovakia. Another allegedly sent his own twin to play in a match instead of him. And then there was a man who played professional football for 20 years without ever properly kicking a ball. You're listening to Footy Past Stories, the podcast that brings football history to life. Today, we'll recall unbelievable stories of people who crossed the line in pursuit of victory, money, or fame. Stories of deception that changed the world of football.
Get it back up! Get it back up!
It's a goal!
In 2024, the Slovak club Spartak Trnava became the target of a scam straight out of a Hollywood movie. A man posing as Erik Nevland, a former striker for Manchester United and the Norwegian national team, offered around €100,000 for one of Trnava's players. At first glance, it looked like a normal transfer, an offer any smaller club would welcome. But Trnava's manager soon noticed something strange. The supposed Nevland always called from a different number, claiming his phone had been damaged by water. He made odd requests for payments for medical tests, and even wanted to bypass FIFA's official transfer system. Suspicion grew, so Trnava contacted the Slovak Football Association and the police. It soon became clear that the real Erik Nevland knew nothing about it. It was a scam. Thanks to its vigilance, Spartak Trnava didn't lose any money, and even exposed an international fraud that had fooled far bigger clubs. A curious case was recently investigated in Romania. According to several media outlets, defender Edgar Ye, a former player for Barcelona's reserves and other well-known clubs, had allegedly sent his twin brother to play for Dinamo Bucharest in his place. The club, of course, denied the rumors. But not all cases are so amusing. Some actually happened, with serious consequences for both clubs and players. Carlos Henrique Raposo, better known as Carlos Kaiser, is football's greatest con artist. Born in 1963 in a poor neighborhood in Brazil, he had just one dream: to become a professional footballer. But he had one major problem. He couldn't play. Yet over more than 20 years, he passed through famous clubs like Botafogo, Flamengo, Fluminense, and even Ajaccio in France, without ever playing a single competitive match. Kaiser was a master manipulator. He used fake references from non-existent contacts, constantly faked injuries, and even paid teammates to foul him in training so he could theatrically limp off the pitch. He pretended to be negotiating with European clubs. He didn't know a word of English, but who would have checked back then? Kaiser always seemed trustworthy, fooling coaches and journalists who wrote about him as a rising star. His career proves that even without talent, you can reach the top, if you're willing to play the biggest game of all, deceiving the entire football world. The story is so unbelievable it could fill a movie or a book, and we dive into it fully in our premium episode, where you'll discover how Carlos Kaiser managed to outplay the entire football world.
You're listening to Footy Past Stories, the podcast that brings football history to life. In the premium episode, available now on Patreon, you'll hear the full, incredible story of Carlos Kaiser, the man who outplayed the football world. As a supporter, you'll get access to our complete archive of premium episodes, downloadable special illustrations, and an exclusive weekly newsletter with behind-the-scenes football stories. Support Footy Past Stories on Patreon.
A similar case took place in Europe, this time involving Grégoire Axelrod. His story is one of the most bizarre in football history. The young Parisian was never a professional footballer, yet he managed to create a fake identity as a talented player supposedly wanted by clubs across Europe. It started innocently enough. He built his own fan pages online, edited fake articles, added fabricated profiles and references, and it all looked believable. He sent this bundle of lies to clubs, went for trials in England, and even came close to signing with Bulgarian side CSKA Sofia. The media and fans asked, "Who is this new talent?" The truth came out only later, uncovered by journalists and fans. Axelrod became a symbol of the pursuit of fame and recognition without real talent. He later admitted that the deception was an escape from family pressure and personal insecurity. Ironically, he stayed in football. Today, he helps young players enter academies honestly, without the kind of fraud he once invented himself. The biggest match-fixing scandal in football history came to light between 2008 and 2011. Europol revealed that an astonishing 380 matches across Europe had been manipulated. It wasn't just domestic leagues. The fraudsters also interfered with World Cup and Euro qualifiers. Even the Champions League, a syndicate from Singapore, earned around €8 million from betting, and investigators said that was just the tip of the iceberg. One of the most famous cases was the 2009 Champions League match between Liverpool and Hungary's Debrecen. Investigators found that Debrecen's goalkeeper had been bribed. Liverpool, however, was not involved. The scandal had a massive impact. Police raids, criminal convictions, and UEFA's new anti-corruption measures followed, including partnerships with Europol. The football world realized it had to fight manipulation as fiercely as it fights on the pitch. Age fraud in sports is not uncommon, and sometimes it reaches the very top of football. The story of Congolese striker Silas Wamangituka is a warning example. Stuttgart fans knew him as their top scorer, until they discovered that his real name was Silas Katompa Mvumpa, and that he was a year older than official records stated. How did it happen? As a teenager, he went on trial with Anderlecht, but his agent changed his name and date of birth, kept his documents and money, and completely isolated him. Silas became a prisoner of his own career. When the truth came out, Stuttgart's reaction was clear. The club banned him for 3 months and fined him, but also stood by him and accused the agent of fraud. Silas's case isn't unique. Recently, the British press reported that even at the academies of Manchester City and Manchester United, some players were allegedly 4 or 5 years older than their papers showed, without the club's knowledge. Such players gain a massive advantage over smaller and younger competitors. Age fraud is not just about falsified documents. It's about young boys who become victims of unethical practices and carry the consequences for the rest of their lives.
Want more? On Patreon, you'll find premium episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and the opportunity to support a podcast that uses AI to connect football fans around the world.